So we're going to stick with welterweights, kind of. For this one, I've got to be honest. I don't even want to talk about this particular individual. We spoke about the Colby Gary situation a few months ago, and I think in another W for me. What did I say about that one again? I believe my exact words were, Colby is using his name to stay relevant, and that fight is not going to happen. I believe those are my exact words. And to be fair to you, you didn't say it wasn't going to happen. You said you didn't want to see it. So I think this is a W all round for the boys today.
Yeah, I didn't want to see it, and I'm so glad that
you're not going to see it.
Yes, yuck! I did not want to see that at all. But
yeah, but it was the whole thing was embarrassing on Colby's part either way. You know, coming out of all that and then saying you need 3 fights basically to. It's just incredibly delusional, and he looked embarrassing for it. But he's in the last couple of days he shifted his attention to Charles the Bronx, who instantly responded and said he'd gladly accept the matchup.
Yeah.
So what do you think of that fight? How likely is it? And more importantly, as a kind of a framing question, how do you think Charles would do at welterweight?
So actually, surprisingly, I think that fight would be very interesting because it would be Colby. Now, this is assuming that Colby doesn't do what he just did against Leon, that he actually remembers that he's a wrestler. But it would be interesting to see him go for takedowns against Charles, because that's dangerous. I mean, the only person that's able to do that, you know, with no fear is champion right now, Islam Makhachev. So that would be very interesting to see Colby try to use those tactics. I don't think that Colby can. Well, no, I think that Charles is a better striker. Colby actually has some pretty decent striking. He showed a lot of that with Kamaru Usman, but when you are fighting somebody who is not a traditional striker, and that threat of the takedown is no threat to you, your striking looks a lot better, and I think that that's something that Charles will have in the bag there. So I actually think that Charles would do pretty well against Colby. And if I were betting on it, I'd probably go with Charles, to be honest. And as far as other fighters in the welterweight division, I think it would be so matchup dependent for Charles Oliveira, because of the strength advantage that I think that the bigger welterweights will have over him. You know, we were talking earlier about, like, you know, the upper echelon, the JDMs and Shafkat, like there's even Bilal, like those are some big dudes to try to use use Charles's game against, even though I think he could still catch them in submissions. I think that he would do pretty well against the Jeff Neals, you know, the middle of the division. I think that him against Ian Gary would be an interesting fight, even though I don't think that would ever happen because of them training so closely together. But I think that he would do decently. He would have to grow into the division and make his mind up that he's not going to go back down. But I think that if he chose to make it a point to live in that division, I think he would do pretty well until he got to the upper echelon. That's when the size would come in.
Yeah. I'm just going to kind of cut to the chase here. I don't trust Colby to follow through on this one, as you said at the beginning. You know, he's I think you called him a Trump staff member.
Yeah.
In one of the last videos we did. And I'm honestly surprised that Trump is still okay being associated with him. You know, if I was him, I'd probably distance myself from this loser.
He even said that he wasn't his favorite fighter. He told Colby to his face, "You're not my favorite fighter."
I mean, and Colby was like, "Thank you, sir." Probably. I mean, I didn't see how it went down, but God, he's such a ball licker, isn't he? But yeah, if the fight was to happen, as you said, I mean, it's fine. I don't hate it. Like, I think it's a very interesting matchup. You can make cases for both men. I do think that Charles has far more ways to win. I do think he's the better striker. He's obviously got the on the ground. He's going to be much better. But I think Colby's going to be strong. It would be interesting. I still think there's ways that they could both. You can make arguments for both of them. Mm-hmm. I do think it's kind of a weird call out on Colby's part, though. Like, maybe he's thinking he can just, like, right, I'm just going to embrace the heel against the guy that's internationally loved and is a big star. Like, maybe that's the motivation. And in his tiny mind, he probably thinks it's a more winnable matchup than Gary is. I think if the fight did happen, I would side with Charles. I think Charles would choke his ass out. But I would be intrigued by the fight.
Yeah.
I can see, you know.
I would be hyped for it. Like, if they announced it, I would be hyped. Like, I want to see that fight. And I really want to see Charles choke him out.
I'd be happy if it happened. I'd be intrigued. But I think even if it doesn't, I think the reason why I'm happy the call out happened is because I think it could actually facilitate Charles moving to welterweight. And I love it for that reason only. I think the move is great for Charles. He's further away from a lightweight shot than ever. And being honest, did we really want to see him in Islam fight, even if he had got past Arman?
No, not really.
We didn't. I don't think his stock really dropped hugely in that fight as well. You know, it was a split loss. Some people actually felt like he won. He struggles to make lightweight anyway. He's been getting progressively bigger in his frame throughout his career. I think he would do quite well at welterweight. And as you put it, it's the right matchups. I don't think he could be a champion there. Absolutely not. But there's nothing left for him at lightweight. I mean, you could pair him up with Gamrot, but I'm good, bro.
Nobody wants to see Gamrot do anything. So
nobody wants to see that. Yeah. And he might have one more career resurgence in him, as he did when he went from featherweight to lightweight. I say, why not go for it? Like, his legacy's already in he's not going to be seen as the greatest of ever or anything. He's going to be seen as a very exciting champion.
Yep.
He's got nothing to lose from making this, because he could go there and be like a duck to water and actually have advantages skill-wise that other welterweights don't. Because as we know, the higher you got the weight classes, the lower the skill level goes. Mm-hmm. And I think Charles is very well rounded to enter that division. But again, I think it's an intriguing one. And I'd like to see how he does at the weight class. I'd probably, by the way, just as a quick question, if you were going to, I mean, I know you kind of answered this, but if you weren't going to match him with Colby, who's the first person you would match him with?
I think, let me see. Let me look at these welterweights. It'd probably be somebody like, I don't know if they would do that. It seems like that don't seem right. I was going to say Gilbert Burns, but that doesn't seem.
I had Gilbert Burns in there as well.
It doesn't seem right. Yeah. I don't want to kick him while he's down, you know. But Jeff Neal, like, that's probably one of the first, just to test the waters. Like, how good are you in this division? We're going to match you up against a dude who is not as physically imposing as the top.
Neal's big. Though.
I don't think he's like. I don't think he's that much more physically imposing than the other people in the division. Like, even though Gilbert Burns is another one that I was thinking, because he's obviously former
lightweight as well. I know they're friends and whatnot, and they're both Brazilian, but hasn't stopped people from fighting in the past. I mean, I could see them having a nice competition type.
The problem, though,
it wouldn't be a ridiculous entry.
The problem, though, is like, if let's say he fought Colby, right? Let's say they found a way to throw this on a card right after International Fight Week, right? Well, Colby's number 4. If he beats Colby,
somehow,
let's say he beats him and finishes him, chokes him out. So now he's got to finish over a top 5 fighter. You got to put him in top 5 now. Now what does he do? Like, now what you gonna do with him? It would be such a weird situation, but
he'd get a title shot, I reckon, off the back of that.
He might. He might. I mean,
depending. I mean, you'd assume that like the Shavkat situation and everything would have played out as well. He obviously wouldn't get a title shot above Shavkat, or he shouldn't.
And I like that you brought up that most exciting. I mean, because that's how I always bring him up as the most exciting lightweight champ that I can remember. Outside, I mean, Frankie was very exciting as well, but he had a lot of split decisions. But like, win or lose, a Charles Oliveira championship fight is going to be very exciting.
Always. Never fails to deliver, no matter who he's fighting.
Now, can you imagine a world where he finishes Colby with a submission, calls out Leon?
I can imagine it.
I mean, I
don't like the matchup for him, but
Leon's a big boy.
I can imagine it. Leon's a very big boy.
That would be a very interesting fight.
The thing is, though, it's like we said, he might as well go for it.
Yeah,
he might as well. At this point in his career, he might as well go. I'd love to see a Charles with no cut, and even more because he's a broad-shouldered. You know, he's not a small man.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how he was ever 145.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it's crazy, and like, if you think about how many losses he wouldn't have had on his career if he just went straight to lightweight, maybe he needed to learn that learning experience and whatnot, but a lot of it was down to that. He was just drained. He used to go in there looking like a fucking skeleton.
Yeah, he did.
And I think could be even more interesting at welterweight. I'm excited to see it. And I think even if the Colby match doesn't come to fruition, I think the very fact that the seed's been planted in Charles's mind now of maybe I should go to welterweight. I was thinking maybe somebody like Sean Brady.
I didn't go Sean Brady just because of the size. Sean he's a wide gentleman,
but also not a very good striker, not an amazing striker, and also not very smart on the ground. So you can make an argument for, do you know what I mean? Even though the size. See, I'm on a fuck the size argument after what I just saw on the weekend. I'm back on the size don't matter in some aspects of life. You know what I mean? But yeah, again, I think if Charles was able to fill out at welterweight, it's a bit, I don't know. I don't think. I know Brady's very muscular, but he's not very well rounded.
You know what? Like, and
I think that could compensate
for anybody that's moving up. That first fight is where they're trying to figure out their body. Like, I remember when Cowboy Cerrone went up the first time from going from lightweight to welterweight. The first time, like, he looked small. He looked like, dude, you're gonna break in here. But after a couple of times fighting at that weight class, he started to look like he belonged in that weight class. He had to actually fill out, his body. So that's why I think that if Charles is going to experiment going up there, he needs to fight somebody who's definitely on the smaller side. And Colby is definitely somebody who could have easily been a lightweight.
The Colby fight would be ideal.
Yeah.
If he's going to do it, the Colby fight would be ideal. I just don't know if Colby's going to go through with it.
He's not. He can't. He's got to know that
I don't think he will.
That's just not the right fight for him. Colby needs to be looking to fight somebody like Vicente Luque.
I wouldn't be surprised if Colby doesn't fight again.
He might as well retire. What's the point? Get out before you're super embarrassed.